I would see my life very much now as two halves. I don't know what he said, but I knew what he meant. Because a body had been recovered from the water. As Dara fought for her life, we were just sleeping. She's my friend, as well as my sister. Yeah, she was lovely. So I was 3 when Dara was born, and I'm a twin. And actually my first memory in life is of that day, because while my mother was in hospital having Dara, my father, as he does, sent myself and my twin off with 2 of his brothers. They were to mind us. So in minding us, they brought us to, I think, Herbert Park. And my first memory in life is of being in the pond. Apparently I said that if the ducks weren't coming to me, I was going to the ducks. And my memory is of, one of the uncles literally got me by the scruff of the neck and just hauled me out of the pond. And then I just remember this new baby. She had these dimples. She's just this smiley little kid. We grew up on a farm, and so it was all things that you probably wouldn't do now with children. It was, whitewashing walls, creosoting fences. That formed a bond between us siblings, as siblings, and we came to be friends. We're not just siblings, so we have holidayed together and we spent time together, and so Dara, as that person, as that friend, she's kind. I remember in 2013 had a particular difficult year I had in 2013, and somebody close to me had somebody close to them die. When it came to Christmas, I just couldn't face Christmas. I just hadn't the energy left. And I remember driving into the estate one night on a Sunday night, ready for the week, just tired, late at night. And I live 4 houses away from Dara, and there were Christmas tree lights on the 2 little trees in front of my house. There was a wreath on the door, and inside the house, she had gone into the house and she just put up a little Christmas tree. She knew I just couldn't face Christmas, but that actually a little bit of Christmas would be nice, and that's what she did. And that, I think, captures her. I would see my life very much now as 2 halves. So I was 48 when Dara died, and life up to that point is one life, and then life after that point is a whole other life. And so March 13th was a Monday, and it was just such an ordinary day. That's the mad thing about it. You'd sort of think if your life was going to change hugely, well, could the days before it not be extraordinary? But it's just an ordinary day. And because I live 4 houses away from Dara, I had seen her on the Friday, I'd seen her on the Saturday, I'd seen her on the Sunday. Dara was a pilot. She was a search and rescue pilot, and she was with the Irish Coast Guard. And she operated out of Dublin on Rescue 116, the search and rescue helicopter. And on the night of Monday, the 13th of March, she went to bed and got a call out and left the house, get into her car. It would turn out to be the last time that she would leave her house. And she went to work, and the call out was the other side of Ireland, so it was off the coast of Mayo, and it was to provide top cover for a helicopter that was going on a long-range mission to recover somebody back from a vessel. So then I got a phone call about 6 the next morning, just before 6, and it was from my sister Niamh, who lives with Dara, to say the heli's down, come over. And I just ran out the door, and I went to Dara's house, and Niamh opened the door, and I could see in her face, mirrored my face, why are we here at 6 in the morning on your doorstep? And 2 men from Dara's company had come. They just said the heli's down, there's no word from it since sometime after midnight. And we had to wait then from 6 o'clock in the morning through until it was about 6 hours. And then 2 other men from Dara's company came, and we stood in this kitchen that we've sat in with Dara for so long. They tell us these words, and I I don't remember the words, but I knew what he meant, because a body had been recovered from the water. Achill Island lifeboat had recovered this body, and essentially Rescue 116 crashed into, or on an island, Blackrock Island. Basically death visited my family in the middle of the night as we lay sleeping in our beds. And that's so hard to know that as Dara fought for her life, we were just sleeping, you know? It's like this ordinary day, the day before, and I'd seen her on the Sunday. I didn't hug her. If I knew it was the last time you'd hug her so hard, you'd probably nearly break her. But that's one of the things that's so awful about that, is that all this is happening to my sister in the darkness of the seas off the coast of Mayo, and we know nothing about it, and you can't help her, you can't do anything for her. That moment when you hear that Dara is never coming back, and she won't drive in her own driveway, she won't walk in the doors of her own house. It's your future robbed, but then it's her future robbed. One of the reasons that I wrote this book is because, even as a psychologist, the experience of grief has been like, and I describe it as this, it's like being hit by a train, and so overwhelming, and physically, emotionally, cognitively, it gets you every way. And I wrote it because, for so long in Ireland, we didn't talk about things. We do wakes well and funerals well, but often we don't talk about all that other stuff. And I just wanted to talk about that stuff and say what it's really like. And part of what it's really like is, the way I described it is, in the worst of times, I feel that I have seen, I'll just speak for myself, I have seen the best of humanity with the 4 crew of Rescue 115 in Shannon, who they were tasked to airlift Dara from the Achill Island lifeboat. 2 of the crew would have known her over 20 years. One is a really good friend, and the other is a friend and a long-term colleague. And when they airlifted Dara from the lifeboat to bring her to the mortuary at Castlebar, they were offered this chance for the hospital team to bring Dara in. But the Coast Guard, one of the things the Coast Guard does, is it brings people home. And I think they just wanted to bring her home. That's what, they weren't going to let somebody else do that. And that image of, that 4 crew choosing to carry their friend on the last journey that they could carry her was just such an example of the best of humanity in the worst of times. Human beings are amazing. I think we're incredible. I don't think we go near what we're able for. But I think sometimes, in the worst of times, we push out the boundaries of what we're able for, and we push it again, we find further. And that's what I've seen. And so when I can't think of the details of them carrying her and I just can't think of the actual picture. I just have this almost still image of it. But I think as a family member, you're so grateful to people who have the courage to, in those moments, step up and stand up and just do something so lovely for your person who has died. But isn't that the best of humanity in the worst of times? In some ways you're not broken, but in some ways you are broken. But when somebody dies, people will say to me, "You loved your sister." Oh no, I love her. That love doesn't go anywhere, but she's just not here. And the grief piece is around learning to adapt to that. How do you adapt to that? How do you go on living your life when it's not that you want to die? I haven't ever had that feeling, but sometimes you just haven't wanted to live. And the bit about accepting, for me, was doing all the little things. It was going to the base and going through her locker and clearing out her locker the day when the WhatsApp message comes in a year after she died to say Dara has left the group, that was like a kick. But it helps you accept the truth. What you get when you survive the awful is you get such gifts like clarity. So I know who I am. I know who I am. I know what I'm made of. Who your friends are. You know, who are the people who are in your corner, who are there when you're spiky and grumpy and when you're grievers make rotten friends. I was so absent as a friend for so long because I was just trying to survive. There's almost a freedom that comes with grief because you don't need to be liked. You don't need to please people. You can say no to things. You don't care about the stupid stuff because you realise now that it's stupid stuff. And you realise that actually a lot of life is noise and love is what really matters in life. And there's such a freedom from that. If grief had a goal, I think it would be for us to get that balance between remembering and living. Because so sometimes people will say when you love somebody who dies, people will say about, you know, closures, there's that word, or, you know, moving on. Oh, I hate that expression. And of course, it's not that. You don't want to do that. I don't want to leave Dara behind me. If I move on, it implies that I've left her behind me. And I will never do that. But yet, she would be so mad if we didn't live the lives that we are privileged to have. You know, this is a girl who fought so hard, who got herself out from a helicopter, got her helmet off, got her seatbelt off, got herself out of the helicopter and didn't make it to the surface of the water. What would she give to have her life back? And how insulting and offending and appalling would it be if I didn't then live the life that I have? And so I think there's a responsibility almost to myself, but also to Dara, to say, I remember you. I remember you. And I will always remember you. And I will say your name and I'll speak your story and I will do all of that. Not but I will live, and I will live. Because when you do the two, it's honouring her. It's honouring her, and it's doing the right thing, and it's honouring me, and it's just the right thing to do. There are times though you don't feel like doing it. The living bit is a real struggle, and I think there's a guilt. You know, there can be a guilt that comes in with that. How the hell can you be okay when she's not here? So your head, I think, it messes with your head. And then you get to a point where you realise you can do the two. I can remember her and I can live my life without feeling that disloyalty or that guilt or anything like that. When you can do that, that's the acceptance, that's the peace. And actually, the line in the book about hope in the subtitle, you know, finding hope, that for me is the hope bit. When you can say, okay, I've learned how to remember and how to live, and I understand that both are possible together.